It's been a few years since Colorado grocers started stocking wine. Now some struggling small businesses say liquor sales should be left to liquor stores.
We are hemorrhaging. We are dying.
Two law enforcement systems are playing tug of war over undocumented immigrants charged with crimes. The hype over Torpedo baths comes to Colorado. A local business owner says he's already fielding requests. And in a sold-out Rockies crowd, we still found a familiar face to answer our favorite Friday question.
My good news is I'm working the Rockies today.
Let's end the week on a high note tonight on Next. It's a showdown we've seen before. Grocery stores and liquor stores battling for who gets to sell what. And now a bill on Governor Polis's desk could set up yet another fight, one that could eventually be decided by voters. Here's our Spencer Swaiter.
At Bonnie Bray Liquor, customers are locked in on finding their booze before the weekend.
How are you today? Okay.
Owner Bruce Gallagher, though, may be more focused on checking his phone.
About every 30 minutes. Waiting for it.
Bruce is waiting to see if Governor Jared Polis will either sign or veto Senate Bill 33.
This is a huge bill for small, independent, local businesses.
The bipartisan bill passed overwhelmingly through the legislature on Thursday. It would protect independent liquor stores who say they've been hammered since voters approved wine sales in grocery stores in 2022.
Wine sales are down 20 to 40% in most locations, including mine.
The bill stops the state from issuing any new liquor licensed drugstore licenses. Since 2016, grocery stores like King Soopers or Costco, which have pharmacies on site, have been able to claim those licenses to sell hard liquor.
I think it's really surprising that the legislature right now is providing this much of a protectionist measure for one industry.
Ray Rivera represents Coloradans for Consumer Choice. They work for large retailers and grocery stores.
We don't tell Domino's to not sell sandwiches to compete with other sandwich stores.
Rivera says the current model is working, that Coloradans want convenience and lower prices. The grocery stores want a veto, but say they'll collect signatures for a ballot measure in November if this passes.
I think the current system has been working.
Working for the grocery stores, but maybe not for the liquor stores.
The current market is not working. We have liquor stores that are on the fringe of going out of business every single day. There are people waiting for their leases to run out, and then they're done.
Neither side knows where the governor stands on this. I reached out to his office today for a statement, and a spokesperson told me that he'll review the bill, but that was it.
Okay, so we're waiting to see what happens with Governor Polis. But if he doesn't sign it, if he does sign it, what could happen?
So if he does sign this bill, you got to remember how close wine and grocery was a couple of years ago, 51-48 then. If the governor signs this and then it becomes a ballot measure, both sides told me they think they'd prevail. They think that one side hates what's happened and another side really likes what happened. So.
Well, we'll have to watch, because I remember when this first went around with wine, people had a lot of opinions about it.
Sure.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks so much, Spencer. It's been 24 hours since President Donald Trump announced global tariffs that go into effect this weekend. And no, it's still probably not a good idea to check in on your investment portfolios. Global financial markets continue to tumble today. The Dow, NASDAQ, and the S&P 500 fell more than 5%. Those dips in the market came after President Trump announced baseline 10% tariffs against almost every country yesterday, along with higher retaliatory tariffs for dozens of U.S. trade partners. J.P. Morgan predicted an increasingly likely global recession as consumers in other countries react. One of the U.S.'s largest trading partners already reacted aggressively to the tariffs. China announced a 34% tariff on U.S. imports following the president's announcement. While your individual portfolio probably isn't looking too good right now, Colorado State Treasurer Dave Young says the state's $19 billion investment portfolio is made up primarily of more stable assets like government bonds, mortgage-backed security, and treasury notes. A spokesperson for Young's office says they're, quote, focused on keeping taxpayer dollars as safe as possible throughout the current disruption. Tonight's next question is one we've gotten dozens of times since last night. Brenda, Ginger, Matthew, George, Colleen, Dave, Vicky, Sharon, and many more want to know whether a billion-dollar government contract to manage U.S. petroleum reserves was really being handed off to a self-storage company in Colorado. A lot of you said it was a shady deal. So this appears to be a case of mistaken identity. Yesterday, the Department of Energy announced that a company called Strategic Storage Partners had won a $1.4 billion government contract to manage and operate the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. There wasn't much information in that announcement, and a video widely circulated online claimed a small storage facility company in Colorado was going to take over the entire U.S. emergency oil reserve, despite having no experience in the oil industry. That's not correct, according to the contract details posted on a government website, which says the contract went to a different Strategic Storage Partners that's actually based in Louisiana. That Louisiana-based company is a subsidiary of a major government contractor who has a history of managing government fuel deposits. A Department of Energy spokesperson told us the exact same thing today. Send us your next question. Ask us anything about anything in Colorado, because you can't be the only one wondering. We welcome written and video questions. You can email them to next@9news.com or text next at 303-871-1491. A person connected to the owners of the infamous Aurora apartment buildings pled not guilty today to dozens of city code violations. The lawyer for Zev Baumgarten argues his client shouldn't be found guilty because the city has singled him out for prosecution. 9 News' Investigates Aaron Adelson explains their defense.
Zev Baumgarten is an investor with several CBZ-owned apartment complexes in Aurora, notorious for claims of a Venezuelan gang takeover. Some of those properties have been shut down by the city, and Baumgarten now faces several criminal violations. In court, his attorneys conceded the properties are in bad shape, but they argue it's not Baumgarten's fault and that the city of Aurora is unfairly singling him out for prosecution. In a motion seeking more evidence from the city, Baumgarten's lawyer Stan Garnett wrote, "Mr. Baumgarten's religion is one of, if not the sole, motivating factor for its prosecution of Mr. Baumgarten." The city of Aurora has charged Baumgarten with dozens of violations in 7 different cases related to the Whispering Pines apartments on Helena Street and the Edge at Lowry apartments on 12th and Dallas. Garnett wrote the city has selectively enforced violations against Zev because he's an Orthodox Jew. Mr. Baumgarten's religious affiliation has not gone unnoticed by the city. An Aurora spokesperson tells 9 News, despite many interactions with Mr. Baumgarten and his teams of attorneys over the years, this is the first time the city has heard these new claims. We have no indication that any of them hold any merit. These properties became national news last summer.
911, what is the address of the emergency?
In June, an attorney for the owners made an emergency call reporting a Venezuelan gang suddenly controlled their Aurora properties.
The apartment property has been taken over.
Those claims reached all the way to President Donald Trump, who made a campaign stop in October promising action.
Upon taking office, we will have an Operation Aurora.
Baumgarten wasn't in court today. Garnett said Baumgarten moved out of Colorado last summer for safety reasons. In November 2023, Zev says he was assaulted at Whispering Pines. A judge ordered Zev to be in court at his next hearing. For Next, Aaron Adelson.
We're seeing a power struggle between the immigration system and the local judicial system. And what I mean by that is we're seeing people deported before they can face their local charges. In turn, some victims and prosecutors say they have no chance to see justice play out. Just this week, this man, Yerbes Manuel Garcia Quintero, was charged with 2 felonies in Arapahoe County. He bonded out of jail, then ICE picked him up. Now, Democratic District Attorney Amy Patton's office says they have no idea where he is now. What we know is that he didn't show up for court, and Patton says he's been transported somewhere out of the state. In a statement, the DA's office says the victims in this case may not receive the justice they deserve. And in the same county, just a couple weeks ago, we reported how a judge set a $500,000 cash bond, not because the charges warranted that high dollar amount, but because the judge said it was the only way to potentially stop the man's impending deportation before he could go to trial. At the same time, Patton said she wants the local justice process to play out before suspects are actually deported.
Committed a crime in Arapahoe County, they should be held accountable by my office and by the court system in Arapahoe County. So I want that process to play out first before they are deported.
Patton told us that deporting someone who hasn't been prosecuted does a disservice to the victims in these cases, but we know the local judicial system is totally separate from the federal immigration system. Both sides have very different priorities and outcomes that they want. We want to say a quick thank you for all you've done this week to support youth in Colorado as they navigate the grief of a losing parent. Here's Kyle with an update on this week's Word of Thanks campaign.
1 in 12 kids in Colorado will experience the loss of a parent or sibling by age 18. Despite just how many young people deal with that grief, it can feel incredibly isolating. Judy's House is there to help. This week's Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign will support the work done at Judy's House, founded by Broncos quarterback Brian Griese, who lost his mother when he was young. No family that comes to Judy's House for help coping with grief has to pay. Their work with bereaved children is funded by donors in the community like us. Kids are guided through their unique journey with grief by experienced experts at Judy's House, a crew that is often used as a national model for how this work should be done. More than 1,500 children and caregivers find hope and understanding through Judy's House each year. And most importantly, they realize that they are not alone in their grief. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get the link to join me and a bunch of other Coloradans and donate. More than 4,500 of you have signed up to simplify your giving with a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. That means we've been able to start your recent weekly micro-giving campaigns with more than $30,000 for each nonprofit featured. That is an enormous help to these groups. You can use the same QR code or text to get there.
Torpedo bats are taking the game of baseball by storm, and Colorado businesses are cashing in.
Monday morning, I woke up to about 30 orders, and it hasn't slowed down since.
A bat company in Colorado breaks down the game-changing technology next. It's spring in Colorado, so of course we're getting some snow. It was coming down in Denver today during the Rockies home opener. It was tied for the second coldest home opener in franchise history. And Corey, I actually thought about going to home opener today instead of working, but actually I was kind of glad with the weather because as much as I love baseball and going to a baseball game, it just wasn't like the best weather for it.
Yeah, I think you probably weren't alone. I think about 20,000 other people just bought tickets and decided to stay home as well. So it was really uncomfortable there, and it was really uncomfortable in the 11th when the Rockies lost the game. The snow showers here across the area, mainly pretty light here across most of the Denver area. Some pretty heavier stuff out here along the edge of the metro area, places like Roxborough and also Ken Carroll getting some pretty heavy snow right now. That's where we'll see the accumulation most likely. From this point till tomorrow at about noon, we could see another 1 to 3 inches, maybe 4 inches in parts of the foothills here. Generally just a ½ inch to an inch here across the west and south metro area as we go through the day. But the cold temperatures certainly were there. It was the second coldest home opener, but it didn't make the coldest games of all time here. 23 degrees is the record for the coldest game ever played. All these games are also in April here. The forecast lows are going to get close to that here. We'll be very close to that 23-degree mark in the morning hours tomorrow, but the temperatures will warm up. We'll get some sunshine across the day, and then we'll be close to the 80s by the end of the week.
Some disappointing weather for Rockies fans and a disappointing end to the Rockies home opener today as well. The A's won 6-3, but there's still a whole season ahead, and as the Rockies look to get some wins under their belt, they may take a crack at a new bat, racking up runs for MLB teams. Players swinging the bowling pin-shaped torpedo bat accounted for at least 9 home runs opening weekend. Now everyone wants one, and you don't have to look very far to find it. Here's Jaleesa Irizarry.
Dreams can't be manufactured.
This is the Bat Cave.
But someone can assemble ambition.
I know, right?
Trevor Goldberg has built a business off that.
So in about 3.5 minutes, we'll have a bat.
In his Colorado Springs garage.
Crazy. We take her onto this side. It's my sandpaper drawer.
Goldberg makes what any baseball home can't stop talking about.
Here's what a traditional bat has been, for a couple hundred years, and this is now the difference. with the Torpedo.
Call it the swollen sister or the bat with the bulge. During opening weekend, Torpedo bats destroyed a few MLB pitchers. The New York Yankees racked up 9 home runs from 5 of their players using them.
The thickest part of the bat is going to be closer to the label instead of up here on the end. Normally, your sweet spot on a traditional wood bat is about 2 to 7 inches off the end. We're moving that sweet spot down a little bit and making it bigger. By MLB rules, it's got to be a smooth stick, and the widest part can be no thicker than 2.61 inches in diameter. It doesn't specify where that thickest part of the bat has to be.
Some major leaguers swear by it. One minor leaguer in the bat-making world
Down here in my shorts and my flip-flops.
just so happens to make it.
My final pass is at 600 grit.
Goldberg owns Berg Bats, a company the former player started in the Springs at 16. Since then, it's expanded to training bats like his signature split grip.
Brent and Doyle ordered one.
And now his take on the Torpedo.
Kind of working with one of my big league hitting coaches on something similar. It was easy for me to go to market with this pretty early.
Since Monday, Goldberg has gotten at least 50 orders for the Torpedo.
We got Washington, Massachusetts, Louisiana.
The list
Alabama.
and the work
I have received so many orders.
goes on.
I thought my website was gonna break.
It's a good problem to have because Goldberg knows attention like this can ingrain a person's legacy.
There you go, start to finish. We just made a Torpedo.
Again, if you're wondering if these bats are completely legal, they are. It's possible the league could ban them though, but MLB experts say it's too soon to make that call.
Good news is we woke up today. We're on the right side of the dirt. We're here now.
437 weeks later, and we're still ending each week on a high note. Your good news is next. Rockies fans may have left Coors Field a little disappointed today, but before the game, they were feeling pretty good. We dropped by the sold-out home opener to ask our favorite Friday question, what's your good news?
The Colorado Rockies, thank you for attending today's game.
My good news, it's his first opening day.
Walk up, walk in at the first base entry.
The good news today, we're going to have a lot of snow during the game.
My good news is it might be cold on opening day, but we got hot dogs, baby.
My good news is I am a bar owner in Inglewood, Colorado, and I just bought the space next to us, so we're expanding about double the occupancy.
Good news is we woke up today. We're on the right side of the dirt. We're here now.
The good news is God is great.
My good news is I'm about to be expecting my 3rd daughter in September.
And we are celebrating also our daughter's last opening day as she's graduating from high school this year.
They're both going to go to the World Series. I'll be back here wearing the same thing.
My good news is good health.
We're raising money for charity, Brandon Baseballs.
My good news is my restaurant's doing great. Even though the old Chicago closed, we are bringing in business. And my good news is I'm going to be in business 40 years, July 1st, and I'm going to make a lot of noise.
I'm getting paid to have fun.
My good news is it's baseball season.
Love that. We're back with your feedback next. Feedback tonight. People were really happy to see Judy's house featured on Word of Thanks. We had one viewer write in, thank you so much for highlighting. As a victim advocate, I've referred many victims there over the years. They've helped so many families navigate the grieving process. That's so awesome. We're so happy to hear so many people are supportive. If you have a nonprofit in mind, please do reach out to Kyle. Thanks for watching.